All right, good morning there from Tallahassee, Florida. It's nice to be here with you again today. So today I've been sharing this on my social media platform that I'll be talking about graduate school interviews. This is for those who are going for interviews, those who are preparing for graduate school interview. You've applied to that school, and then you are expecting the, them to interview you, or you are expecting a message for interviews. And in fact, this is a period around January where many schools will send messages to those who have applied, to applicants for interviews. They will call them for interviews. Now you submitted your transcript, you submitted your uh, transcript, you submitted your CV, you submitted different documents to the school. But now they want to hear from you. They have recommendation letters about you. Now they want to hear from you what you have said you can do, your statement of purpose, you submitted those things. Now they want to hear directly from you. Those things you said you can do, can you actually do them? Those things you said you have achieved, have you actually achieved them? So they want to hear directly from you. So this video is all about giving you tips, things you need to know, things you need to prepare for as you attend the interview. Now, first thing you bear in mind, you apply to a school in US, for example, they want to interview you in Nigeria. Okay, you know that the platform of interview will be online video conferencing, online video call, something like that. Maybe Zoom, maybe Google Meet, maybe Skype. I remember during my time, I think we used Skype then. Okay, so you have to prepare for this first and foremost, because a very good internet connection is good. You don't want to be talking about something so beautiful. You are talking about how you've done a lot of things, how you did this research, this, that, and your video, your network connection has frozen you, and the person over there can't hear what you're saying or can't even see you. Okay, so you want to invest in a good internet connection. That's the first thing you want to ensure is in place. I remember during my time, I had to go and look for a different modem, different from what I was using, different from all the normal MTN, Airtel, blah 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 blah. That was first thing I did. I think I used Starcom. Did they call it Starcom? I can't remember what they call it then. I had to load, maybe I got a couple of thousand, maybe 10K or 5K I bought and loaded on it. Okay. So you want to make sure your internet connection is stable. That's very, very important, because if your internet connection is not stable, a lot of things will be lost. And those people will want to be polite. They won't want to tell you, repeat yourself, do this and that. They will just take what they can take from what you have said. Okay. So you want to invest in good internet connection. Very, very important. Number two, everything you wrote in your application, everything you submitted, review it before you go. Very important. Okay. In your SOP, you've written that, oh, you did this research with Professor XYZ. You've written that you got this result, this and that. You wrote a lot of things. Okay. You want to review every detail. Okay. Because the interviewer or interviewers will have your profile, your what do you call it, your application submission with him or her. Okay, and the interviewer is going through those things you said you can do, and the interviewer is asking questions based on that. Okay, so you want to review those things, everything you said you can do. Oh, you said you have this, you can do programming skill, you know Python, this and that. Prepare for some Python basics, because they can ask you, okay, or C++ basics. They can ask you, okay, so how do you write your code? What do you can you read binary format, or can you read text files? Can you How do you run it? Do you use Ubuntu? Do you use, what do we call, which application system do you use? Do you run it on Windows, or you run it on, what do we call this other one? That's Ubuntu, Mac, and all the likes. How do you run? Do you run your argument? Do you run your program in a command line, or you run it? They'll be asking you all these basic questions. You need to prepare for such questions. Very, very important. If you wrote in Linux, thank you, Joker. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Joker. Linux is the word I was looking for. So, and scientific Linux, blah blah. They will be asking some of those questions. Now, if you wrote in your application that, oh, I did research at IITA, I learned how to do polymerization, chain reaction, PCR, this and that, you need to really understand it and know the equipment you use. What's the name of the equipment? What remember an example of the time when you use that equipment. You want to be able to give examples while you are talking. Okay, if you are talking, if you ask you a question about how do you cope under pressure, this and that, you need to be able to give examples. Or while you were doing your project, you had another maybe project that had you do this and that. You need to be able to say all these things, giving examples. Okay, while you are responding to the questions. Very, very important. So review your SOP, review it. Now, if there is a that's number two. Review the documents, review your SOP, review even your grade, because sometimes they may want to ask questions about your grade. Let's say in your grade, in your transcript, for example, in electromagnetics, you had, let's say, A, you had in quantum, you had another A, but in which mechanics, you had, let's say, D or C, not so good. But that was the only problem you had in your course, and it didn't really affect your CGPA, so you were still good enough for them to invite. Have an explanation for that, because they can ask you, okay, so what happened? You had A here, but here you had C. What went wrong? You need to be able to give an answer to that and say, oh, during that examination, this was happening. You were not feeling fine. Okay, I remember one course I did in school then, my fourth year. I think that was the lowest grade I had in school. I was not actually feeling well when I went to write that exam. I read, but I couldn't really, read properly. It was very stressful for me. So you could have such explanation. Or, oh, during your school, while schooling, you were also trying to hustle for money outside campus. You were running business, or you were working outside campus. So you were balancing your studies and your job, and it became very difficult. And then, of course, you tried your best, but for that particular course, it was just so difficult that you could not continue. Or a life-changing event happened, something happened, your wife gave birth, or your mother gave birth, there was an accident. You just want to prepare ahead of time for some things, for some questions they might ask. And it can even be a question about GRE result or something. Okay, so you want to prepare ahead of time for that. Now, note it also in your applications, you've written about the awards you've won. Oh, you won this award, you won that award, this and that. You want to be able to give an explanation and say, okay, this is why I won the award, this is why I was awarded this award, this is why I was given this award. They may ask you what qualified you for such award. Okay, you want to be able to say it. If it's that you wrote an exam, you wrote an aptitude test. You want to be able to say, oh, for this particular award, I remember one of the awards I won with that scholarship. Then I wrote an aptitude test. Okay, so you want to be able to say, I wrote an aptitude test to be able to win this award. I wrote this and that, this and that. If it's an award that is just based on CGPA, you want to be able to say, I had the highest CGPA in my first year or in my second year, and I was awarded based on that CGPA, or they gave the award to the best CGPAs in the faculty, and I was one of the best, so I was given that award. So you want to be able to explain it discreetly. Now, why am I saying this? These are proofs to show that whatever you have written is genuine. Okay, remember, anybody can just cook up an award song from somewhere and just say this and that, and they will search what's the name of the award, they will search the school, blah blah and blah. They will search all these things because this is the age of the internet. So they will search all these things. So you want to be able to give the specific information and to be able to say, everything I did by myself. So review everything you have submitted, because you should be able to talk about it. Also, you must be able to review the basics in your field. Let's say you are studying physics, for example. You want to know the basics, okay? Because they are admitting you based on the basics. They may not necessarily ask questions about physics and say, okay, define or quote Heisenberg uncertainty principle and the like. They will not necessarily ask questions like that. But in the discussion, it will the questions will go around that may bring responses from you to show if you really know the basics of what you are doing. Okay, for example, talk about the Maxwell's equation, talk about the different equations that we have in the physics, just to know the basics around it. They may want to it will go around the research that you have done too, the basics of the research. For example, you did research, let's say on radiation and health physics, so there will be the basics of radioactivity, there will be the basics of chain reaction, not necessarily chain reaction, there will be the basics of decay, electromagnetic decay, or just decay, radioactive decay, basically, or the decay by gamma radiation, the decay by alpha particles, decay by different other particles, neutrinos, antineutrinos, what happens when those decay occur. So they may ask you questions about your project. Okay, so you studied radon, right? You try to find the radon concentration levels in places. Okay, wow, that's nice. So tell me, what equipment did you use? Now, what equipment did you use? You start talking about, oh, you used, let's say, AlphaGuard radon monitor, and then it's basically how it works is it detects the alpha particles that are emitted by these radon gases. Okay, because that's why radon is dangerous in the first place. When inhaled, it can emit alpha particles, and when those alpha particles are emitted, they are ionizing radiation, and then it's inside the body already. It ionizes the cells in the body, blah blah blah. Those explanation itself tells you these are basics, these are theory in physics. Those explanation tells them that you understand what you are doing. You didn't just take the equipment and then went around and start measuring. Oh, this one is 5, and you wrote 5, and then you plot the graph and you say, oh, there's a positive correlation between blah 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 blah. No, it shows that you actually understand the basics. So in your field too, you need to be able to understand that basic. They will not necessarily ask you directly, what is this, what is that? But from your explanation, talking about your research work, talking about the research you've done with professors, they will be able to have an understanding that this guy actually knows what he's talking about. So you need to be able to review the basics. Okay, very, very, very important. You need to be able to talk about the basics. Very, very, very important. Okay, so now after you have done all the basics, blah blah and blah, you need to be able to talk about why you love their school, why you have chosen their school. They want to know, this person is interested in our school. Why has this person chosen our school? Why is this person interested in our schools? They want to know. Okay, so review those things you talked about in your SOP. You said, oh, you love this because of the research work of Professor Oribogunje. So you won't be able to say, oh, Professor Oribogunje in your school works on this and that. I read this paper. That would be a big plus for you if you can read at least one paper for the person. Even if you don't fully understand, at least you have an idea of what the paper is saying, what it's talking about. So I read this paper on XYZ. I know he's working about this and that, and I'm really, really interested in working with ion beams and the likes. I've read about it. I really love it, and then I'm so pumped up for what the output will be. And then you can talk about the research output of the department too. That it's a very serious department. They publish a lot of papers. They do this and that, and you really want to be in a very productive environment such as that. You are giving thumbs up to them, like, you guys are doing what well. You guys are working hard. Okay, and it shows that you've done your homework. You can even read about on the website. Sometimes some schools on their website they talk about the project that they will still do later on. Okay, you can read about it and say, oh, I see that this project will be done later on, which is to be embarked in summer or in 2026, and I love to be part of this project, because then you talk about your undergraduate, because I was part of this during my undergraduate days in Nigeria, I was part of this, or in Kenya or in Tanzania or whatever country you're from. And then you talk about it because I was part of this, I was part of that, I was part of that. And I really enjoyed it. And it's what I really want to contribute to and continue working with. Or talk about the toxicology, this and that. And you say, oh, because of what I've seen, what I've experienced. Basically, it's just to be able to show why you have passion for their department, for their school. Okay, so you must really be prepared. Toyin, Oluwatoyin, I will still come to questions. Okay, I can see your question. Then I will still come to question. I'll definitely answer questions. Okay, so you must be able to talk about why you love their school, because they will ask you. I remember it was a friendly chat when I had my interview then, and we were talking about why I love the school, and I was talking about research, and then other things we talked about was just something as simple as weather. Okay, I was like, yeah, I love Florida. I just because the weather is close to Nigeria. I mean, I don't want a place that is too cold and the likes, and those were some of the things I talked to the interviewer about. And then it was just fun and fun. But as fun as it sounds, it gives the interviewer the confidence that okay, if we give this person an admission, this person has more reasons to stay with us. He has more reasons to choose us. Okay, he has more reason to choose us, stay with us, stand with us, and not just waste our slot. Okay, because those who are giving admission, they want to give it to people who will choose them. In fact, one of the questions I was asked directly was, how likely am I to choose them? How have I rated them in terms of all the schools I applied to? Because they know you have applied to many schools too. So they want to see the likelihood of you receiving their offer. So I was asked that question directly, and I said, "Oh yeah, because I really love Florida. I want to stay in Florida. Like I would choose you guys." I said I applied to two schools in Florida, and then I rate you guys so much because I just want. I really love Florida. So if I'm to choose between Florida and another place, I would rather choose Florida, and that really gave them that confidence that oh, this guy is most likely to choose us. He's not going to waste our slot. Blah blah blah. All right. Now, what you must also prepare for before you go for the interview is to have an alternate research interest. Okay, sometimes the reason for the interview may be because they think the research you wrote about or you've written about in your SOP, they don't have the facilities for it again, or they don't have the number for it again, or the professors in that field are retired, or the professors are feel they are busy, but they want you because you are a good student and they want to see if you have an alternate research interest, maybe something close to that. So before you go for that interview, have an alternate research interest. Read about the other research that you think you can do in the department. Read about the professors, other professors you think you can work with, and then learn what they do. Just not necessarily know the details, but learn at least this person is working on growing crystals to be able to meet electrical or optical properties of blah 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 industry. Okay, just know what they do. So sometimes they may ask you, okay, do you have an alternate research interest because this research area you have chosen will not be able to admit you for it, and then want to see if you have other things in mind. And then you may say, oh yes, I have this, and this, and then they will just take you based on that. Okay, but if you have said no and they cannot offer what you or you, let's say you were not prepared for that question, and you started saying, I really love the research I chose. I don't think I can do anything else, and not really not because you can't do anything else, but because you didn't prepare for that question ahead of time. They will just say, "Oh, well, this guy is good, but we can't offer him anything because we cannot serve his need." So they're not going to give you that that offer. So it's very very important to prepare for alternative research interest. Very very important. All the other questions you'll be asked will be questions about, okay, what question do you have for us? Ask questions about the work ethics there, like what is expected of you. Do they expect you to start research immediately you get in, or they expect you to finish your coursework before you start research? Ask about rotations in the lab. Do they do rotation? Do you have to rotate from lab to lab? Or once you get there, you can just go to the advisor you want to work with and then start with the advisor away without rotating in other lab. Ask some of those questions. Ask about funding too. Don't be shy. Money matters matter. Okay. Ask about funding. That how does the funding work? Are you funded all through, or does the funding stop at a certain time? Ask those questions. They are very, very, very important. Ask if you'll be expected to pay anything. Okay. Ask some of those questions. They are very, very, very important. All right. Yeah, Alan, you're asking, will this live video be available? Yes, it's always available. Once I click end stream, it's available. You can watch it over and over and over and over again. Okay. So, Alan, it's available. You'll have it. All right. So, those are the basics you want to prepare for when you go for your interview, because they just want to know you basically, and they just want to be able to say, to confirm that you can do everything you said you can do, everything you said in your CV. They want to hear it from you directly. And sometimes they also want to give a measure of your spoken English. If you're applying to the US, for example, and you will become a TA, teaching assistant, they want to see how good your communication skills are, or your spoken English, how good it is, if they can at least listen to you, hear you, and the likes. Because you'll be teaching students, you'll be teaching those who are, let's say, undergraduate, those who are doing lab courses, lab work, blah blah blah. You'll be doing all this, so they want to measure your spoken English, measure in code, and see if you are a good fit. Okay, because people can write English, people can even translate. Those who don't speak English, they can even translate. People can even do English exams and pass and follow all the logic and the lines. But when it comes to spoken English, they are not able to communicate properly. So you want to be ready to communicate properly, okay, and clearly. You don't have to form, my Nigerian accent is my Nigerian accent. It's been there for since I was born. It's still there now, even after spending some years here. It's not changing. But the basic is that I want to be able to communicate. Okay, you want to be able to communicate. They want to be sure that, oh, this person can communicate clearly. Basically, that's what they want to test. That's what they want to see. Because if they cannot understand you, then the student most likely will not be able to understand you. And you should understand why this is important, because there are many countries that they don't speak English. In Nigeria, we speak English. That's our lingua franca. That's our, what do you call it now? That's our official language, so to speak. But there are countries, let's say China, for example, they speak Chinese. Some countries like Russia, they speak Russian. Ukrainian, that's what they speak. They don't speak English. People are coming from France, they speak French. People are coming from Spain, they speak Spanish. Understand? From Mexico, they speak Spanish, and all those other countries. So they won't be able to say, okay, as this person learns English, because you won't get in class and start communicating in your language. All right, you have to communicate in English. So they want to consider that too. They want to hear about that too. Now, if you have experiences in teaching, it's good to find a way to chip it in, to say that, oh, you've taught somewhere before, and then you'll be a good fit for a TA. That's one of the things they will be offering you. But of course, talk about your research experience and all the skills that you have. If you have a GitHub, let's say you are into programming and you've written that in your SOP, you can say, oh, that you can share your GitHub profile with them if they want. And then, just to show that you are doing things, you can say, oh, I have a GitHub profile, and then I've been coding for some time. I have my code there, blah, 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 blah. So basically, these are the things you need for your interview. So I'll take some questions now, and then I will start with questions that has been submitted here already. Let me see. Oluwatoyin. Now I say, oh, thanks for all you do. For F2 visa interview, do you need to take along original marriage certificate, or is a scanned copy and photocopy sufficient? My spouse traveled with the original. Okay, if your spouse has traveled with the original, you can go with what you have. Um, I mean, they most likely will not ask, but again, it's good to have something on ground in case the visa official has some doubts to the genuineness of the marriage. So sometimes they want to ask some details. Okay, when did you get married? Where did you get married? So while trying to answer all those ones, you can say, in fact, I have my marriage certificate, a copy of my marriage certificate here, or a photocopy of my marriage certificate here. So that's possible. You can go with a photocopy. of your marriage certificate. If you say scanned copy, remember you will not be allowed to go with your phone inside when you do the interview. Okay, I think this one many people don't know. When you go for visa interview, you will not be allowed to go with your phone inside. So print it out and then have it on you. And then if questions comes to that, you can then present it and say, okay, this is a copy, and then yeah, it will be fine. Most likely they won't don't even ask from a lot of people many times. Many times. All right. Let's say any more question? Okay, let me just wait 30 seconds to see if there's any question. And if there is no more question, I think this will just be a good place. Okay, Juliana, let's answer your question. Okay, so yeah, for interviews where you are asked to prepare presentation slides on certain published article of their choice, what are the tips? Okay, so when you say presentation slide on certain published article of their choice, okay, so if they ask you to prepare a slide, okay, number one, some people can just ask you to prepare a slide generally. You want to, if there is no specification, what you should do if you have just asked to prepare a slide of your work or something, you want to prepare a slide that introduce you, that introduces your work, okay, and your basic results. You want to make it like a, like, you know, the way you present for project, the way you present for your conferences. You just want to something like that. It's like trying to present your work to the person. This is what I have done. Okay, you want to make a presentation like that. Okay, so and that will include, okay, your work. You want to have an introduction, you know, a little um, background to the study, a little background. Then you want to talk about all the experimental details. This is what we have, this reaction with this reaction. Then you want to talk about these facilities. You want to talk about the facility you use, or let's say you use University of Ibadan, blah blah blah, somewhere there. The maybe one laboratory there. You want to talk about the facilities, the research equipment you use. Okay, you want to talk about it and what the equipment does. You know, this would also tell the interviewer that, oh, this person has worked with this equipment before. You want to talk about that. You want to introduce that. They want to talk about the exact thing you did. Then you want to talk about the analysis, the methodology. Then you talk about the result. Then you talk about the conclusion. Okay, and if it's still an ongoing work, you want to say it's an ongoing work, or if it asks, if it's been concluded and there are future works that you think can be added or can be done, you want to talk about it too. You just prepare that slide in that manner. Usually 10 slides, that's enough. Sometimes it may not even be up to 10 slides, but it's usually enough in that range because you want to talk about it in 10, 15 minutes and you're done. Okay, you don't want to spend all the time. You want to give them the opportunity to ask you lots of questions. And sometimes the interviewer may just come and say, tell me about you. When they say tell me about you, it doesn't mean you start telling them I'm the first child of three, I'm the number one in Kinekon, I was born in Ibadan, I was not. No, no, no. I want to talk about you in relation to your work. Okay, and what you have done, who you have worked with, equipment you have used, and all those things. Those are the things you want to talk about if you are giving that free flow, like tell me about you. Now, if they now ask you to prepare a slide on a particular research paper, let's say a published paper, so it's your responsibility to go and study the paper and then put the major points out. But I don't think they will just give you to pick a random paper. It must be either your published work, okay, or maybe a work you said you have read or you have done or something. No, I don't think it will just be anything random. Okay. Okay, they sent particular articles and told you to choose one to present on for 5 minutes. Okay, okay, okay. That's fine. So I think in that situation, what you can do is just understand the basic concept, the introduction, okay, and then understand the methodology. You may want to dwell more on the methodology because that's, if it's for 5 minutes, a five slide presentation, let's say 7 slide presentation is okay. So you want to understand the introduction. Just it will be a paper you love, okay, that you understand out of all the papers, and maybe the person is trying to recruit you for an area position. So understand the basic introduction, understand the methodology or the method or the experimental details, and then try to understand what the result looks like or what it's saying, what the conclusion is saying. So just put it in bullets, in points. I've had to review articles like that, and I put it in slides too. So just have like 6, 7 slides, and then just to show that you understand the paper, okay, and put those things in your own words. I think those are the person, they just want to know that you understand the paper, you can read the paper, and you understand it. So put those things in your own words. Slide 1, introduction, or this paper talks about, you have the title, talks about the toxicology of Kenekon, and then mention the basic, so percentage of these causes toxic substances in XYZ. Then move to next slide. It's been discovered that these and these, all those little points. Then talk about, manganese was introduced to brain of a rat, and this and that. Those are the details of the paper. And then you just talk about this young.
Look.
Oh, okay, that's beautiful.
Anyway, it's your turn.
Come on, let me see. Sorry, I have guests here. Wow, this is E. E for what?
If N.
All right, thank you.
And N for
Nathaniel, I see. All right, so you want to be able to talk about the fact that you understand the paper, basically. Just that's what they want you to do, and then that the result. They don't actually, they don't expect you to know fully, but just for you to be able to say, I can read this paper and I can bring something out of it, extract something out of it. So 5, 6 slides, 7 slides, it's enough for 5 minutes. Okay, 5, 6, 7 slides, enough for 5 minutes. Just touch it, just touch everything from beginning to the end. Maybe 1 slide for the introduction. Aside the slide for your name, just put 1 slide for the introduction, how the paper starts, just introduction. Under that one slide, you can put 4 or 5 bullet points. You may have one of the pictures from the slide. From the paper. If there's a picture from the slide, you can try and get the picture, put it somewhere so that you can use it to explain your idea or to show that you understand the picture. Go to the next slide, experimental details from the paper. Talk about it. If they have equipment which they have used and they have pictures there, or they have their method and they have pictures there, put it in that slide too, so that you'll be able to talk about, you'll be able to explain those your points using that picture. Okay, figures are very, very important. Very, very important. Then the next slide, they want to talk about the analysis. If there's an analysis section there, bring it out, pick out 4 points, major points from the paper. Under the analysis section, 4 or 5 major points that are important. If they have pictures of methods or figures of methods or whatever, put it there. In results, people usually have pictures or figures for result. Bring it out of the paper too. Have a section, another slide for result. Put it there, and their conclusion, just conclude too. Okay, so 5, 6, 7 slides, you are good for a 5 minutes presentation. I hope that answered your question, Juliana. All right, Martin, let's come to your question. You said you graduated with a CGPA of 2.76 in chemistry. You also have 1 year of one year work experience. What can you do to boost your profile? Okay, Martin, if you can try your best to publish paper with people, okay, that'll be a beautiful thing to boost your profile. If you are still in Nigeria and then you are still finding it difficult, or you are still doing this process, if you can do a master's degree program too, it can also help. Okay, you can do a master's degree, it can help, because in doing a master's degree, I will answer your question, Beatrice, because if you can do a master's degree, sometimes some of those courses can be repeated in masters. For example, you can do electromagnetism in undergraduate. In masters, you do electromagnetism again, even though it's graduate level. If you can pass it well, people reviewing your transcript may say, oh, he didn't pass electromagnetism here, but he passed it here. That means he has improved over time. And then in doing that masters too, you can have your research experience. You can have more research experience, okay? And then you can, if even in chemistry, you can try and understand some of the methods that are being used in your chemistry methodologies. Send yourself on IT, even though you graduated. Send yourself on internship to some of these places where they use things in chemistry that you probably will have to do in graduate school. I've had people do that. different people in different places do that, and then that experience they gain can cover for their lack of good GPA. And they probably will just ask you, okay, you have all this beautiful profile in terms of research, you've published, you've done this, but your CGPA, what happened? And then you can just explain to them in simple terms what you think affected you during the undergraduate. Okay, so I think these are things you can do to boost your profile. Okay, try and see if you can publish, try and learn some techniques, some skills in chemistry that few people use. If few people use some programming skills or some statistical learning skills or something, learn it. Okay, understand it, get the software, use it, show, demonstrate that you can do it. So these are some of the things you can do to boost your profile. And if you can write GRE too and have a very good score, write GRE, get a very good score. It's very possible. So I've seen people with low CGPA who were able to still make it. I know someone low CGPA, the person wrote GRE had a 320 something or something. The person is a friend. And then learned some programming, some data analytics stuff, and learned a lot of things. And the person went into data analytics eventually, not eventually physics, which he studied. Okay, so you can do that. And if you're interested in online chemistry and in something else, let's say environmental science or something that looks like, data thing, data blah blah blah, then you can go into that too. But you have to have a base knowledge for that. Start learning it yourself. Okay, that's what that my friend did, and then he had a very good GRE score, smashed it. So these are just some of the things you can do. And if you're still interested in chemistry, of course, learn those chemistry skills, those chemistry techniques, use them, practice them, join yourself to people, be part of papers, be part of project, write papers if you can, maybe go back to your school, the professor is writing this and that, ask if you can assist them, join them in their lab to do this, just create time to be able to work on yourself. These are the things you can do. Okay, so Beatrice, your question, you're applying to a school for both deaf and hearing. Will your interview be in ASL or English? And can I inform them that I can converse in ASL? Okay, so by ASL, you mean that's the language uh, for deaf, right? Beatrice, is that what you're saying? I think you should prepare for both anyway. And then you can inform them also that you can converse in that language too. Okay, inform them, let them also know that you can converse in that language. I think that will help. Yeah, I think that will help. Yeah, you can let them know that you can converse in that language. So you can converse in English, but also in ASL if they want to do that. But most likely, American Sign Language. Okay, yeah. So most likely will be in English, most likely. And most likely one of the questions they will ask you is if you can converse in sign language. Okay, that's most likely what some of the questions they will ask you. But most likely in English, at least to start with. And then they can ask you, okay, can you visit school for both deaf and those who are deaf and dumb? You can um, they can prepare for it ahead of time, practice. They can switch to that and say, okay, let's converse in that language, and you're fine. All right. So let me go to second CGP of 4.6 out of 5, civil engineering, close to 1 year working experience in data engineering. They thought, what can I do to land a master's? To land a master's, just apply. Just apply. That's it. That's it. Just apply. Just apply. You actually don't have to have publication before you apply. I mean, it's good, it helps your profile, but it's not compulsory you should have it. Okay. So just apply. Just apply. There's nothing stopping you from applying. Just apply. Of course, you need to understand the requirements. I have videos talking about requirements. I have a lot of videos talking about what you can do to improve your profile. I have a lot of videos talking about different things in that regard, and how to search for schools, if you write GRE or not. So just apply. Mm. Oh, okay, Beatrice, you are saying that you can't converse for that long in American Sign Language? Well, I think you need to start practicing before the interview. Just practice more and more, practice more and more. Okay, be able to improve, include in what's the word now? Increase your vocabulary in the sign language. Practice with people, practice more and more. Because it's possible they just want to, it's possibly a part of the interview, want to see how good you are with sign language. Because remember, when I started, I said some of the things they want to understand is that you can communicate well with your audience. And when I was using an example, I used the example of speaking English because that's the major language of instruction. Now, if it's sign language and that's the major language of instruction in the school, then you need to be able to prepare for that. Okay, so try and practice a lot. Try and practice a lot before you go for the interview. So, Fortizo, am I accepting new code this January? No, no, no. Nothing will happen on mentorship. Even the one we are doing, I've been on the hold on it for a while. Nothing will happen until maybe summer or something. Yeah, this is a busy period for me that requires some concentration. So, no, Fortizo Springs. I'm sorry. All right. Minat Mojoinola is saying, what of people that are preparing for administrative assistant interview? What should we be expecting? If it's administrative assistantship, that if you how did you know it's administrative assistantship? That means you already have an admission to the school. That's what it implies, right? So if that is the case, then you need to understand what role they are trying to give to you. If it's staying with a professor, working with a professor, this and that. Basically, they will ask about your work ethics. They will ask about, there will be it will be more like an HR interview thing where it's not just research because to depend on the person interviewing you. If the person hiring you is the person interviewing you, the person wants to know if you can work with him or her. For example, do you come early in the morning? I need my office to be open at 9 a.m. They want to know, will you be there at 9 a.m.? What time will you leave? Just basically just want to say that I will do what my duties entails. I will stay the hours I'm meant to stay. I will no, just those basic things. Those are the things you really want to give out. You really want to dish out. They want to see how will you be able to combine that with your academics. You'll be able to combine it. Do you have experiences in the past where you're able to combine your academic with work or with some other things? How do you deal with distractions? Blah blah blah. Just basic interview stuffs. Those are the things they will be asking you. But if it's your department, then you may need to prepare more than that. If it's your department that is interviewing you and trying to see what role you fit in more, then you need to prepare more than that. You need to prepare even in lines of teaching. Maybe you'll be given a teaching assistantship or research assistantship, depending on what the situation might be. Okay, so the person interviewing you also matters. It also matters. So you need to be able to know those details to know how to prepare. But I'm a fan of preparing wide, preparing generally, like just preparing very well. I'm a fan of that. I hope that answered your question, Mojoniola. All right, we've answered some good questions today. It's such a nice time. It was such a nice time with you guys. If let me wait for 12 more seconds. If there's no question, then I think it should be a good place to end the stream. We've had a nice time today, honestly. All right, I want to say thank you guys for joining in. It's been wonderful with you guys. Let me see on Twitter. I want to see, is there a question there? Yeah, Felix. Okay, ask your question before we end. Quickly. You will be the last person. It's 43 minutes already. So, Felix, I can take your question. You'll be the last person. But to recap everything I've said, all I've said is for you to prepare for an interview, make sure you review everything you submitted. Okay, things you said you can do, things you said you have done, have examples, ready-made examples which you can give, how you were able to cope with this and that, those things you have done in the past. You want to be able to give that example and say, oh, you did this, you did that. Prepare ahead of time, read through it. Another thing I mentioned was that you need to prepare an alternate research interest. Sometimes the purpose of the interview may be to tell you that, see, you love this research area, but we are not taking people in for this research area because we either we are short staffed, or the professors all have students already, or we don't have funding in that area, and then there's something else you can do. What else? What can you do something else? So prepare ahead of time for that something else in code. So you can say, yes, I also love this research work of this professor XYZ, blah blah blah. Then I also gave tips on how to prepare your slide if they ask you to prepare a slide, and if they ask you to introduce yourself, just giving you that free flow. I gave some details, things you say. You don't start saying, oh, I'm the first child of five, and the this and that. I work in. No, you want to say things that are relevant to what you applied for, what you are applying to. Those are the things you want to say. Okay, and then different people have different questions, and answer some of the questions. So basically, that's a recap. Okay, Felix. I think Felix is just greeting me. Is not asking a question. Then, if that is the case, I think this is a good time or good place to end the stream. I want to say thank you for joining in. God bless you. Really good. Happy New Year to you. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. You are watching this, subscribe. We want to grow this channel this year. So subscribe, share with friends. Okay, please share with a friend. Just click the share button, then send it out. You can even share it on your social media platform just to talk about it. If you share it on Twitter and I see it on Twitter, I will retweet it too. Okay, I will retweet it. So please share on your WhatsApp, start us share on this. We want to ask people to subscribe, to retweet, to sub. Did I say retweet? We want to ask people to subscribe. We want to grow the channel. Like it. The more you like it, the more YouTube recommends it to other people to see. So if everybody on this currently like it, the likes will increase, and YouTube will try to trick the algorithm to favor us. Okay, so we want to grow this channel this year. That's one of the goals. Okay, so and you are part of this, you can help. So please share, post on social media, post on Twitter, post on Facebook, post on. If I see it anywhere, I'm gonna retweet it or share it or repost it, depending on whatever they call it on that platform. All right. Last question I will answer is Roslyn. Oh, okay, Felix eventually now asked this question. Okay, let me pick Felix. If one's application is on the final review stage, please, are we supposed to wait positive response for being an? Just be positive. If your application is on the final review stage, just be positive. Just be positive. You most likely will get it. You most likely will get it, because even not everyone will get who is granted the what do you call it now, the application, who is granted, what do we call it again, the offer, will receive it. Okay, so if you're at the final stage, just be positive. There's no reason not to be positive. You have gone that far, then you should be positive. Roslyn, you're asking the West evaluation of your academic transcript indicated that your HND is equivalent to bachelor's degree in the United States in electrical engineering, and that yes, that's what West evaluation will do. Your HND is equivalent to BSc. So what's the next thing for you to do? Apply with it, basically. Ask West to send it to the schools you're applying to and apply to the schools. Okay, that's what you should do. That's what you should do. That's what a lot of people have testified to that, and I've seen it before too. West evaluation races in quote CGPA because of the way it is evaluated. They remove some dumb things that are in the transcript and then put the real thing there, and it increases it overall. So apply with your HND. I know a lot of people that have applied with their. In fact, I know some that didn't even evaluate their HND at all. I know someone I'm still trying to bring her, but we'll do a video together. We'll bring up, we will shoot a video together. I'll do a live session together like this. We are still planning it. And then it's HND for PhD. She came in for PhD with her HND. And I know people all over the United States who are doing like that. So HND, they started their PhD with it. So even without West evaluation, and now that you've evaluated yours, it's good. Just ask West to send it to those schools, and then you'll be good to go. All right. I hope that answered. It's not even a question. Oh, you said, can you apply? Sure. Apply. Roslyn, apply. A lot of people have done it with HND. started their PhD, started their MSc with their HND. So apply. It's very, very important. You can do it. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. In fact, and I have a video specifically on HND. If you want to get more motivation, search out the video. Just type HND, search my channel, and then you will find that thing about HND and listen to more details about how you can use HND to apply. Okay, but that's beautiful. Apply with it. Ask West to send it to those schools that you're applying to, or you send the one West gave you, the document that West sent to you. You can use it as unofficial transcripts. Okay, and if they want official, just ask West to send it to them. I think that's what you can do. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. It's I didn't plan to spend this much time, but you guys have helped me to spend more time. So remember, subscribe to this channel, subscribe, like it, share it in different platforms, share it on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on WhatsApp, share it on wherever. We are trying to grow this channel more this year, and you are part of the project. All right, God bless you. Have a nice day. Happy New Year once again.